Alrighty. So welcome everyone. Absolutely thrilled to have you join us today. My name is Vanessa George, and I am a board member with the American Council on Education Women's Network. And I am going to share my slides and tell you all about what we're going to do today. All right, hopefully you all can see everything. So our topic today is building your personal success team in higher education. And we're going to focus on creating a mentor network as a staff member. We have continually heard so much from our members and from our colleagues about how important it is to figure out how to build a successful team of people around you who can support your career. And so as part of that, we decided to host a webinar today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our panel who's joining us today to share their experiences as mentors and mentees. We're going to talk about how to build your personal success team and what that means. And then we're going to have a discussion with our panel, and they can share their insights and tips for how to really leverage a mentor and mentoring experience. And we're going to break you out into breakout groups that you have a chance to meet each other and share some strategies and some tips with each other, and then we'll come back together. So it's an hour. We're going to be moving quickly, but we're going to have a lot of fun today. So let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about the American Council on Education Women's Network. We are a network and been around for a long time. We're part of a nationwide network of women who are focused on supporting the advancement of women in higher education throughout the US in a number of ways, including workshops and trainings and connections and mentoring. And so there's just so many things that we do. And our chapter is based here in Northern California. And we have many, many members. We've been around for a very long time, and we are just passionate about supporting the advancement of women in higher ed. There are chapters in every state in the union, including Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia. We invite you to visit our website, ace-norcal.com. Be sure to add the dash, otherwise you will run into a business that does roller coasters, which is how I found that out. Let me move on and I just want to just double check. I assume that everybody can see everything. If you can't, please put something in the chat and let me know. All right. Oops, hold on. Would like to introduce to you today our panel. I am Vanessa George. I am the director of the Master's in Organization Development program at the University of San Francisco, and I am a board member of ACE, a very proud board member. I've been it for, I think, since 2013 or so, and it's been a wonderful experience. Our panel today includes, please be sure to mute yourself. Thank you. Our panel today includes Christina Armstrong. She's a project manager for the Office of Equal Opportunity for Sacramento State. And she is an institutional representative on our board at ACE.
Yeah, which is why I've been tapped to also give.
Okay, thank you. Our next panelist is Yesenia Curiel. She is Director of Campus Advocacy and Education at UC Merced, and she is a board member of ACE and our treasurer. And then our third panelist today is Dr. Amy Levine. Amy is the founder of the Essential Steps Coaching and also is the former executive director of the Center for Gender Equity at UCSF. She's the founder and executive director, former founder and executive director of UCSF. And she has also been a board member of ACE for a very long time and is now emeritus. And Amy was responsible for bringing me onto the board, and I am very grateful to her. I also work with Amy at UCSF. So we have a long, wonderful friendship and history together. And so we will all be having dialogue together in a few minutes. First, I would like to talk a little bit about our topic today, which is building your personal success team. So I'd like to encourage you all to think about it as if you had a personal board of advisors, a network of people who can support you and provide strategic and tactical support to your career. And a lot of times when we think about a network, we just think about having lots and lots of people in our LinkedIn. We think about all the business cards that we collected back in the day, and it can feel a little unwieldy. But the way that I'd like to encourage you to think about this differently is to instead think of it as having maybe two groups of people. One group of people who are dedicated to supporting your career, and one group dedicated to supporting you, psychologically, socially. And it's about creating an intentional network of people, not just 500 or 1,100 or 2,000 people on LinkedIn, but a curated, if you will, group of people that you can turn to for very specific needs. And I think this might help you think differently about, well, what we call networking. So from a career support perspective, you want to have people on your personal success team who can be mentors, who can be sponsors, who can offer you protection, who can expose you to different opportunities. To drill down a little bit, I'm going to talk about mentoring and sponsorship in a minute, but with respect to protection, this could be people who have your back or keep an eye out for you in the workplace, let you know about very important initiatives that are happening or new developments that are going to be happening, people who you trust and who look out for you. People who can provide you with exposure are those who can help raise awareness of your great work, who can put in a good word for you, or don't forget to please mute yourself. Thank you. Who can amplify your voice, even in meetings, or let others know about your skills and ability to be on influential committees. So it doesn't necessarily mean someone who is highly influential themselves, but someone who's willing to open a door and tell others about how great your work is. I'm going to get to mentoring and sponsorship in a minute. Psychosocial support is groups of people who can support you personally. They may be friends, people who can validate you to assure you that you are doing, great work, or that you're not crazy when you see something happening in your workplace or elsewhere, who can confirm that you are on the right track, who accept you for who you are, or who can serve as role models. So these are people that you can cultivate and bring into your network. And they can be very specific people, as opposed to trying to just randomly accumulate lots and lots of folks, and then you don't have any idea how to follow up with them. So what we want to do is encourage you to start thinking about building a personal success team or building a personal board of advisors who can be your go-to people. So let's talk a little bit about mentoring and sponsorship, because those are the two most critical roles that you want to have. I'm going to skip over something for a minute here. So mentoring is very specifically, a mentor is someone who can be like a personal guide to help you navigate your career journey. So if you take a look at this picture, you'll see that a mentor can serve multiple roles for you. They can provide advice. They can help motivate you. They can help you carve out a direction when you're really not sure what direction you want to go in. They can coach you. They can support you. They can help you not only identify a direction, but help move you towards the goal. Or they can recommend training and development for you when they see that maybe you have certain skills that need to be strengthened. So a mentor is truly someone who can be right there, arm in arm, helping to move you along the path that you want to go in. And what's important to know is that they can be in any rank or position. A mentor doesn't necessarily have to be a senior executive. It can be someone who is, a peer, but who maybe has been able to figure out a way to do the work that you're doing, but in perhaps a more successful way, or they've just discovered secret sauce to how to do something. You can have many mentors. not just one. You can have many mentors. It's about deciding what you need and finding someone, a mentor, who can help fill that gap. And our panel can talk to that when we get to that in a minute. Now, I'd like to contrast mentorship with sponsorship. A sponsor is typically someone who is a senior level leader, and they are willing to advocate for you. So whereas a mentor is focused on, they're working internally, let's just say, like behind the scenes with you, helping to develop and support you, encourage you, offer some insight. A sponsor is out in front. So think of that. The mentor is behind the scenes, a sponsor is out in front, and they are promoting you to the organization or to your field. They are literally using their influence to open doors and enable your advancement. They're a champion for you to help raise your visibility, help you get onto influential committees, or recommend you for a very significant role, as a promotion, let's say. So a sponsor is someone who is critical in terms of moving you forward and being more visible, helping you become more visible within your field. They do expect loyalty and stellar performance. So now we're going to talk about mentoring today, and we're going to talk about sponsoring next semester. But I wanted to just contrast the two. Now, let me go back for just a quick minute, because we're talking about how can you build a personal success team. So there are a few things to keep in mind. You want to think about it in 4 steps. So the first thing is you want to analyze your network. Look at the roles that people are playing in your network. Do you have people who are mentors? Do you have people who are sponsors? Do you have people who can protect you or help increase your visibility in your organization? If you don't, then you want to think about where are their gaps. You want to, number 2, delayer, assess where are you spending your time. Are you spending more of your time with maybe one type of people, one group of people versus several types of people who can support you? If you have like all of your people in your network are all, let's say, coaches, that's great. But if you don't have people who can provide protection, you don't have people who can provide a sponsorship, then it means you have a gap. So you would want to reduce maybe the time you're spending with this one group of people and then focus on diversifying, broadening your network to fill the gaps, to bring people into your network who can serve these other roles for you that you really do need for your career. Because a mentor can help you understand who you are and where you want to go. A sponsor can help you get there. Right? So if you don't have those things, then you need to figure out how to diversify. And then number 4, capitalize. You want to stay connected to all these specific members of your personal success team. Reach out to them, cultivate a relationship, continue that cultivation. Because when an opportunity arises or you're ready for that next move, if you have cultivated that relationship, then those people will be there to help you. So very simple 4-step process. And if you have access to the Harvard Business Review, there's a wonderful article by Rob, I think they're Rob Cross and Rob Thomas, I think they're both Robs, called A Smarter Way to Network. So very quick overview of how to build a personal success team. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to turn it to our panel, and I'm going to just stop sharing for a second. And I'm going to invite our panel now to chat about this, to talk about mentoring, because mentoring is really the core. It's really the first step. You have to have mentors in your life here in order to help you advance. So with that, Amy, Yesenia, and Christina, excited to have you join us. Why don't I start by first asking you, each of you, to share what role has mentorship played in your lives? How has that experience supported your career? Amy, would you like to go first?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because I came to mentorship late in my career. I've always served as a mentor, and that's been one of the more gratifying parts of my career, is helping other women in particular to succeed in their careers. But I never really found anyone who I thought spoke to me until later on in my career. And then I found two people, because as Vanessa says, you don't need to have just one mentor. I think it's important to figure out what you need and then spotlight the people who can fulfill that need. So actually what happened is I was helping to coordinate a conference, and Vanessa was part of it. Dina was part of it at the Claremont Hotel. It was for underrepresented women of color in the health sciences. Vanessa did an opening workshop on what was networking. And so she had us pair up. It was a reception, and she said, talk to each other about what's the most important career advice that you've gotten. And I was sitting with Dr. Jack Stobo, who was then the vice president of health at UCOP. And he was my partner. I said, what, how do you answer? And he said, having a mentor was the most important thing. And I thought, oh, damn it. That's what I've forgotten. That's what I haven't done. So I basically just said to him, will you be my mentor? And he agreed. And I'd also heard wonderful things about Linda Williams, who was the associate president at UCOP. I met with her and made my pitch. And so the two of them mentored me late in my career, and they wound up actually helping me even more once I left UC and started my own business. So I'm still in contact, and it's been many years. And so I owe them a debt of gratitude.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Yesenia, would you like to share what role mentorship has played in your life, in your career?
Thank you. So for me, I think it started I started looking for mentors and also being a mentor at a very young age. So for me, it was important because of my cultural upbringing for elders to be seen as mentors. And so it was something that I grew up knowing that every position that I went to, I always looked for individuals that were experts already in the field that I wanted to get into. So my background is anti-gender-based violence. I would look for groups that I knew where I can find experts, people that I had things in common with them, or individuals that I felt like I wanted to be them at some point. So I would go out of my way to ask them out, for tea, or ask to speak to them, and then let them know that what my interests are. And then they would go ahead and give me an opportunity to meet and ask questions, which I thought is really important. So I think mentorship is something that can be ongoing relationship. It could be for a short, brief time, depending on what the need is. I know that over the years, I've had individuals come to me and say, I need mentorship to get to this point. Would you be able to help me? And then after that, then, the relationship isn't nurtured as much, or we're not in contact as much because they've moved on, and that's okay as well. And I've also had the opportunity to be a sponsor for people in higher education here at UC Merced, and as well as in my previous positions. But it is something that I feel that mentorship, I think culturally, some people might not see it as mentorship as the official description that you gave, but I think it's something, a philosophy that I was raised with about, again, the elders and about seeking out and then also giving back. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Christina.
So for me, I've mentored, but most of my experience that I'm going to talk about today is going to be centered around me being a mentee, being mentored. And it's been very helpful for me, particularly as I was, I think when I first got into my career professionally, I think I liked the idea of a mentor. And so I kind of tried, people say I have to find a mentor. So I went out trying to interview people to be a mentor. And that just nothing ever stuck for me. It just really felt forced. oh, my supervisor should be my mentor. And, I've never had that experience. And so it wasn't until I got to maybe mid-career or, a couple of years in, I guess I shouldn't call that mid-career, but a couple of years in that my technique kind of changed a little bit. And I just really tried to think about the folks that I naturally had relationships with that I would seek out for advice. And lo and behold, those people were my mentors. So there was never a formal, exchange, will you be my mentor? Like that has never happened with any of my mentors. I think it's implied at this point that I'm constantly going to them for like career advice. I think they probably get it, but it was just an organic, we had a relationship that they seemed interested in my success, and I trusted that they wanted what was best for me. They weren't telling me what to do. I think that's really important for me to, I always had the ultimate say in what I was doing or what I didn't do, and didn't feel judged for making decisions in a particular, you're supposed to do this, you have to do it this way. And last week you said you wanted to do this. And, there was never any of that happened. So it helps me to feel confident in making decisions on my own about my career, but also being able to have a bit of a sounding board from folks who are going to give me advice from a higher perspective as being a bit more further along in their career. So it's been really impactful for me in that way.
That's just so awesome. Thank you so much. As I'm listening to each of you talk about the different ways that you found mentors or became a mentee, it really does remind me of a couple of strategies that I've certainly heard people discuss, which is number one, not necessarily going to someone and saying, will you be my mentor? Although that can work, it worked for Amy. But it depends on how receptive the person is. Many times it does tend to be more organic, where you have gotten to know someone and cultivated a relationship. Maybe you worked for them. I worked for Amy, and Amy became an unofficial mentor to me, and I just attached myself to her like glue because she was just so amazing at what she did, and I wanted to continue learning from her. And so, know that you don't, if the people out there, our listeners, viewers, you don't have to go up and approach someone and say, will you be my mentor? It really is more about watching, learning, listening, and identifying people who can be part of your circle. Now, there are all kinds of ways to develop mentoring relationships, as you guys have touched on. I would love to hear what lessons you've learned about how to build a successful mentoring relationship. What has worked, what has maybe not worked so well. We all want to hear the good and the maybe not so great, because everybody's here to learn. So what have each of you learned, and what kind of tips and strategies can you offer us today? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll
I
go
can
first.
go for it.
Oh, go ahead, Yesenia. I went first last time.
I wanted to mention one thing that's important, being a mentor now, because of my hectic schedule and things that I'm working on. Sometimes I think it's really important that people that I have that are being mentored by me, they need to clearly identify, how often they want to meet, because I want to make sure that I give them time. And so that's something that I think in the last probably 4 years, I've been really intentional, saying, if this is something that, we are, that they've asked, and, and I have the availability, I do ask them to give me what their availability is. Let's put in things for the next 6 months, so we know that we're connecting every once a month for an hour. So I have people that I connect with on a monthly basis. And so I think that's going to be critical, because people's time sometimes is very valuable. And so it's important. I know that I've done it whenever I've had a mentor. I'm intentional of always, scheduling in ahead of time, and really using that time very effectively in regards to still getting to know them, still, trying to get to understand them, their experience, but also going in with a plan of action to some extent of, what do I want to gain from this skills, or what advice or suggestions that I want. So just, so my advice really would be to make sure that you're really mindful of the time and you're really clearly identifying how often you want to meet with them, because that's going to be important for establishing that relationship. Thank you.
So I would say, for one, it's important to figure out what your goals are. What are your areas for growth? Like, what do you want to work on? And for some of us, it's just upward mobility, excelling in my career. Others, it's like, well, in order to move up, I need to understand more of the financial workings of the university or the college, whatever. And so maybe I want to find one mentor who could help me understand that more. I don't know about budgets and things like that. Maybe you're interested in being more politically savvy. How do things really work in the university? And so you might want to find a mentor who can help you with that. So I think first you need to really figure out what are your areas for growth. And then looking at within your network, maybe who can you match with? And who do you like? Who do you respect? How do you feel the chemistry is with someone? That makes a big difference. And it took me a really long time to find someone who fit all of that I liked, respected, felt chemistry, and was willing to meet with me and had information to share. And so then I think you use your contacts, and maybe not even people within your contacts, but talking with them and getting ideas. So I had never met Linda Williams, but a number of people that I worked with mentioned her to me when she first came to the university. And I thought, well, she sounds like someone I should get to know. So I asked if she would consider going to lunch with me. I invited her out to lunch. She agreed. It was amazing, just our first contact. She agreed to be my mentor. I said, I'll take you out to lunch. And we left the restaurant and someone ran after me saying, you forgot to pay. And I thought, oh, she's gonna love me. I have just made a really good impression on this woman, but she forgave me for that. I ran back in and paid for the lunch, and I've been, talking with her ever since. So I think also, as Yesenia said, structure your time. So if it is someone that, you've talked with and said, I would like to meet with you, is it once a month? Is it every other month? Is it on Zoom? Is it in person? Like, what fits for that person? And then you need to bring your mentors something to work with. You can't show up and say, do me. What do you got for me? Just tell me your stuff, impart all of your wisdom on me. You have to say, oh, I went to this meeting and I said this and it didn't land well, and I'm wondering how to work with that. Or I'm interested in this and I don't know how to get there. You need to bring stuff. You need to bring issues and not just expect them to take care of you. And the one last thing I want to say is what I also did that I thought was brilliant, part of my career, was peer mentoring. So I wound up creating a group. There were 4 women who were all about my level. And we would meet once a month in the cafeteria at UC. And sometimes we helped each other to not jump off a bridge, to support each other from a really warm, caring way. But it was like this on the hierarchy. But it really saved me a lot of times at UC. And you can start by meeting with one person for coffee and saying, hey, I have this idea. I'd like to put together a peer mentoring. Who would you suggest? So it's organic. And so that's what I did. And someone mentioned someone and someone mentioned something else. I think we started as 6 and 2 people dropped out. And I'm still connected. I haven't worked for UCSF in 10 years. I'm still meeting with 2 of the women. We still get together. So I highly recommend that.
Thank you, Amy. That is amazing.
I will say for me, a couple of things. I think it's recognizing that a mentoring relationship is like any relationship. And in that regard, it should, as was mentioned already, it shouldn't be your source of everything. Like, I'm going to one person to get everything. This person's going to tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I'm going to have weekly check-ins to recap my week so they can help me adjust. The mentor cannot live life for you, cannot, do work for you, cannot, is not responsible for your career or your success. Ultimately, that's you. Also, the other thing is to recognize when the relationship is maybe not mutually beneficial. So, I've had situations where I have attempted to, reach out to folks and maybe wanted to develop a mentoring relationship. But it became clear to me that, for lack of a better phrase, the mentor didn't really have time for me, which is completely fine. And for me to not take that as like rejection or take that personally, but to recognize, to the comment about expectations, that my expectation of being able to get in contact with someone more frequently was not what that person would be able to provide. And then the final thing is just, when the relationship is no longer serving its original intended purpose, maybe you've elevated from a position, or your life circumstances are just really different. That might mean that a particular mentor that you've had for a while, either that relationship ends, or maybe it shifts. And I've had mentors where our relationships have ended, and I've had mentors where the relationship has just shifted as I've grown and learned. So it's just been really good to have those lessons for me.
So insightful. I love what you all are sharing, because all these questions often come up about how do you start a mentoring relationship? What are things you need to look out for? How do you design it, really? And when you talk about setting goals, and I love Amy talking about being very concrete about what you're bringing and not just expecting the person to do you. And also I loved Christina's comment about recognizing that sometimes a mentoring relationship can accomplish its goals and it can have a natural end, right? And it's not like a bad thing if your mentoring relationship ends and then you are ready to move on to another type of relationship. I think that's fantastic. One thing I wanted to add too is that, I'm a career coach. Amy's an executive coach. I'm also a career coach and leadership coach. And what I often find when I'm meeting with my students is, and it kind of reminds me of the mentoring relationship, is that it's easy sometimes for the conversations to become therapy. And a mentor is not a therapist, right? And it's very tempting when you have someone who's just like listening and they're supportive, and and especially if they're not like a really good friend, if it's really more of a professional, there's a professional distance there, and they care about you, they care about your career. But it's important to set boundaries, that person is not your BFF. They're not your therapist. They're not, but they're someone who wants to help you. And so I think it's important to remember that, because it can be a heavy lift, right? For a mentor to be supporting you, especially when you're going through a hard time at work, right? You're maybe having difficulty, or you're trying to get promoted. And, I remember Amy and I worked at UCSF and worked with many women who were trying to get promoted, and it was hard. It was really tough, especially if you're trying to move levels and stuff like that. And so know that a mentor is already there with you, trying to help you navigate very difficult situations. Remember to keep those boundaries in place, because when you start talking about everything going on in your life, it can be a lot, right? So boundaries are important. I'm looking to see if there's any quick questions in the chat. Anybody has about mentoring before we're going to move to breakout groups in a couple minutes.
Can I make a quick question? I think
Absolutely.
one thing is going to be also about mentors is to not be afraid to look for mentors that don't look like you, because I think that's also important to make sure that it's folks, which sometimes can be daunting. I know for me, when I started having folks that didn't look like me as my mentors. At first, it was a little uneasy because I felt like culturally we probably weren't going to connect. But then we went back to, okay, what was the objective, right, of this mentorship? So I've had white older men be my mentors that I never would, I won't hang out with them on, a Saturday night, right? But I'll have lunch with them, I'll walk around campus with them, So I think it's something where you have to really tap into, your comfort out, getting outside of your comfort zone and knowing that it's important to get various perspectives in mentorship, right? So it's important to be open and to know that, again, at any point you can also end a mentorship relationship, because sometimes I've had people that have stayed in those mentorship relationships and they're harmful, right? So I think it's also really important that they can start and they can end, and you're the ones that are taking the lead on this, right? So don't be afraid to use your power and to also be brave when you are looking for individuals, because the worst thing they can do is say no, but then there's another person right there.
Exactly. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Yesenia, because that's something, I'm sorry, when I say that, I mean specifically that it's okay to seek out mentors who don't look like you, don't come from the same gender or ethnicity or culture as you. That's something that came out in my research when I did my dissertation, and I looked at the experiences of African-American young women working in the tech sector. In many cases, those young women initially started looking for mentors who were also African-American women working in tech, but what they found is that there just weren't a whole lot of them. And so the women who were willing to be open to different kinds of mentors, men, different backgrounds, different experiences, and be a former supervisor or whatever, or women, but not from their cultural or ethnic background. When the women in my study did that, when they were opening themselves to other people who had influence or who had an interest in supporting them in their career, regardless of their background, those women tended to move ahead more quickly. It's the ones who were sort of kind of wanted to stay in their comfort zone. They had a harder time because sometimes there just aren't enough mentors around who look like you, right? And so I came out of that research realizing that these women had really hit on something about being open to all kinds of folks who can help them. I thought that was fantastic. So with that said, what we're going to do now is move on to our breakout groups. And the goal really is just to give you a chance to get to meet each other and talk about your professional goals and how a mentor might help you. We're going to break you up into groups of about 4. Cammy's going to do that. I'm going to drop in the chat the questions that you can ask yourself. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourself. There we go.
Yeah, I think I just want to say that I put it in the chat that I think also sometimes it's hard for women of color to see themselves as being mentors, because oftentimes we think, who wants to know about my story? But a lot of people do. You're a powerful individual. I think that's a general theme sometimes that I see with women, that we don't see ourselves as mentors. So be brave and share your knowledge and help other folks.
Yeah, open the rooms, you guys. You can join them and head out. And we'll send the message to you again.
Awesome. Did you get an invite, Amy? You still? Oops, you're muted. You're muted.
I don't think I'm going to do the breakout.
Oh, you want to stay in the?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I'll stay here with you.
Okay. Yeah. It feels weird.
Oh, okay.
All right. I think we have 3 in every room at least. So I think we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Everybody's got at least one person in their room?
Yeah, I've got 2 of 2, kind of like one room of 2, one room of 3.
Okay, I
But
can't
I'm
see
gonna
breakout rooms. It sounds strange in Zoom. I'm a co-host, but I can't see a breakout room.
I mean, because
are-
I don't have answers to those questions.
Well, you could talk about sort of what you did in the past. No, you could have talked about what you did in the past.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is great. We got some wonderful conversation happening.
That's
in the
good.
chat. Yes, we
Yeah,
are still recording.
okay. But people in the chat have asked interesting questions and seem to feel like this has been beneficial. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I thought we would have more people given how many people we had registered, but you know,
40,
I think we were up to,
36.
last time I looked, it was 37.
Yeah.
We were up to 127 people registered.
Wow.
Crazy. I loved all the comments though. You guys were sharing such great stuff. Really great stuff. I'm just looking in the chat here.
Hey, Jessica, you're back. What you need?
You're muted, Jessica.
I'm sorry, did the session end?
No, you're supposed to be in a group. You're supposed to be in a
Oh.
group. Let me send you to a group.
Sorry,
Oh, it's okay.
my
I'll give you this
internet
time.
went out. Okay,
Okay. I'm sending group 7. It has only 2 folks in it, so you'll be the third person. Thanks, Jess.
And we'll give them, how much time did you give them, Cami?
I didn't tell them.
Say what?
I can message them whenever you're ready to close it. Let me know to close it.
Yeah, so I said 15 minutes, so you got a little time.
Okay. I'll do a message. Let me know when they have 5 minutes left, and I'll broadcast that to everybody.
Will do.
So are we recording now? Maybe we should stop recording. It's kind of boring. Can we pick it up again or?
Oh, I'm not a host. That's why. I was trying to spotlight. Cami, if you can spotlight Christina when we get a chance. Oh, actually, you know what? We're gonna unspotlight so we can see everybody, right? So people can share out.
Folks also can choose for themselves how they want to, what they want to see. So
yeah,
should they wish.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to see people now.
Easier to see everybody.
Yeah, I don't know how to unspotlight.
You did it.
Okay. Oh, my view's on speaker view. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Coming back.
Welcome back, folks.
Yay. We're almost here, just about here. Okay, so hoping you guys had a great opportunity to talk with each other, share, learn. What I would love is that for each of the groups that you were in, if I could get one person to volunteer to share one action step that you discussed with your group member that you're going to do in order to help you identify a mentor or deepen your existing mentoring relationship. So who would like to share out first? I can't call on you because I don't know what group, You can just unmute yourself and share.
This is Ksenia. I just wanted to kind of share about my group. I think there's a lot of folks we're planning a lot of things. And so I think that's one of the big things is that it seems that a lot of folks are wanting to do and explore new things. So I think we were talking about just voicing it out and folks had some ideas already of what they're looking to do. So I think many of them were very appreciative of this session. I hope I captured our group. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'd love to hear from another group.
Does anyone have any comment that would be, we haven't covered that would be useful for others to hear about where you're going to take this from here?
Hi, my name is Audris Blake. I'm from UC Santa Cruz. And what was interesting is while we did not have steps per se, one of our colleagues had to leave early and connected with us on LinkedIn so that we could continue the conversation. So I was very appreciative of that forward-thinking approach.
Mhm. Wonderful. That's what it's all about, right? It's about building a network.
That's great. Thanks.
Someone has their hand raised.
Oh, Philomel.
Yes, hi. I go by Phil. A lot of folks know me. Hi, Amy. Nice to see you. I'm at OP, and I think one of the big takeaways from our little group discussion was that we have had mentors, but never really formalized it, right? I think some of our members said that they were afraid that there was too much of a commitment, having that time, finding the time to formalize that that mentorship. And with me, I thought, well, I was just afraid, what if they say no? It's like, oh my gosh, my mentor doesn't want to be my mentor, even though she or he doesn't know that they are my mentor. So it was a great conversation, met two new folks, revisited an old friend. So it was a great little breakout session.
Yay, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Other takeaways, reflections, maybe thoughts that maybe sparked as you were listening.
Jennifer has her hand up. Jennifer?
It's so hard to see sometimes.
Jennifer?
Thank you, Yesenia. And so I wanted to say thank you to the panelists and the organizers. I got to spend time with another Jennifer and Blaze, and we are now in a peer mentoring group. So thanks for that great idea before the breakouts. And we exchanged our information and we're going to help each other grow.
Oh my gosh.
That is fantastic.
It's amazing. I am so excited. It's wonderful.
Great. Hi, Blake.
Yeah.
And then Raj put a question in the chat. What are some ways a mentee can help their mentor? Since it should be a two-way relationship, that piece can sometimes be uncertain.
Would someone like to answer that question who's been a mentee, maybe has done things to support their mentor?
I think for me, being a mentee, what I hear from my mentors is one of the best things that I am able to give back to them is just having, success in my career. It's not necessarily, well, I spent 3 hours with you and you need to buy me lunch. It's really that intrinsic, wanting to see me be successful and wanting to provide the support. And so what I try to do then on my end is just make sure that I'm kind of reporting back, right? Like, thanks for talking with me about XYZ thing. So perfect example, when I was applying for the job that I have right now, I talked with one of my mentors. One mentor was like, basically, here's why you shouldn't do it. And one mentor was like, well, here's why you probably should do it. In all fairness, the mentor who didn't want me to do it is because she didn't want me to leave her unit. So I would be moving to another unit. So she kind of had ulterior motives, and she told me that. But it was following back up with them, thanks for talking with me about it. Here's what I ultimately decided to do. And then even, after I took the position, to be like, oh, it's going well, or it's not going well, or, whatever the situation happened to be. So that way they can kind of see the fruits of those efforts.
Wonderful.
I want to emphasize what you said, that being a mentor is an honor and a compliment. And mentors do it because it feels really good to give back. And I think, feel your success is my success. So I don't need anything, I don't need a large expensive gift. But what I would like is to know that the information that I'm imparting and that our relationship has been useful and that I'm useful in giving back.
Awesome. Well, we have 1 minute left, literally, before we have to go. It occurred to me that we've been talking a lot about, going out and finding mentors in organic ways, but I also want to encourage you all to check in at your universities or your colleges to see if there are formal mentoring programs that do exist. I know that we have one at USF, and it's a great way to be matched with someone who, if you indicate what your interests and needs are, that the mentoring coordinator will attempt to find someone who might be a really good match for you. You know, when we were at UCSF, Amy and I ran a mentoring program together for staff, and so there may be some mentoring programs at your different universities. So with that, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us today. It's been wonderful. We will have a follow-up to this in spring semester where we will focus on sponsorship. So building your personal success team, but with a focus on sponsorship for staff. And there'll be other programming coming up. Please be sure to just check your email from ACE. We'll continue to keep you abreast of wonderful, wonderful activities that we have coming down the pike. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and happy Halloween. And yes, please join our LinkedIn group. See the chat. Bye-bye, everybody.